I think a lot about generational legacy. Like, what kind of legacy am I leaving behind for, my daughter, my wife, my friends, my family, but people I'm connected with too.
Yeah.
You don't want to go around and showboat everything you're doing, but when people go in like, oh, it's, this is fantastic. This is amazing. You were part of this.
Yeah.
It feels good, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know you said you want your family to be proud of the projects that you work on.
That's everything.
The Leave Your Legacy podcast is brought to you by Covenant Workplace Solutions. Covenant is a full-service workplace mental health and wellness partner, helping organizations across the country strengthen the lives of their employees and the families they go home to every day. Your employee assistance program should raise the bar, not simply check the box. And Storyline Multimedia. Storyline is an Iowa City-based media company that creates high-quality video, photo, and audio for local businesses. They produce a number of great podcasts, including this one. If you're interested in sharing your story, please contact them at storylinemultimedia.com. And remember, your story matters. Hello and welcome to the Leave Your Legacy show. I'm your host, Kenyon Murray. And today is a very, very special day. It's a very, very exciting day because as a family, there was a vision that was born back in 2011. And that vision was all about how can we help kids in our community, in our state, really tap into their talent when it came to basketball. How can we teach them all the ins and outs of that? And, it's been, it's been almost 24 years, but the reality is everything that we're doing now, the project that we're working on was born that long ago. And what I'm talking about is the Corridor Sports Performance Center. This will be a state-of-the-art facility where we'll have 4 basketball courts, which they'll be able to do basketball, volleyball, pickleball. We also will have a 24-hour fitness center and sports performance center within the building, as well as a physical therapy and rehab company. And to top it all off, we'll be running our nonprofit, the Murray Foundation, out of it as well. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of it, right? The vision of this is how we can holistically help kids nowadays. It's not just about the athletics. It's not just about how do we get them to the next level playing in college. This is about how do we help the athletes, their families thrive in our community. And so as a foundation, we wanted to be a hub for resources because so many foundations, they battle for dollars every day. A lot of foundations try to be the end all be all, but we said, what if we created a network of nonprofits that could bring different resources to the people that entered our doors? You're talking about a partnership with Zach Johnson's foundation, who's done unbelievable work in the Cedar Rapids public schools. You talk about Junior Achievement. Junior Achievement Eastern Iowa is changing the way that kids look at future careers. We're talking about financial literacy, which a lot of that will come from Junior Achievement, but we also will have a lot of financial institutions that will be able to create, opportunities for people to come in and sit and learn, whether it's about getting a new home loan. But one of the biggest things and one of the things that we're most excited about as a foundation is being able to bring mental wellness into the space, being able to give the kids and their families resources that will help with this battle that is just a nationwide battle when it comes to mental wellness. And all of this wouldn't be possible if we didn't have a great team behind it. And when I think back to 2011, we really didn't have that. But now there's such an importance in who you have on the project, what their talents are, and how we bring that team together to bring this vision, this facility to life. And one of the people that has been instrumental in us starting this 8 months ago to where we are now is Jon Davidshofer from Build a Suit. So I want to welcome him to the show. Jon, obviously you and I have been working together for the last 8 months. And, we talk about building the right team. And I do have a couple of things I want to do, but I do want you to speak on right now the importance of the team that we've assembled to help put this together and how important each and every one of those people are.
Yeah, man. Team is huge in everything, especially in this project. Team is so important in the basketball space, right? Mm-hmm. So when you think about a team for putting together this project, it's crucial for a variety of reasons, right? You want to be efficient. You don't want to have a lot of changes as you get further down the road. You want to create the best project that meets your vision. And so it's a lot of third-party people. It's a lot of people within my team, right, at Build a Suit. It's a lot of people within your team. We've all got to come together collectively. Mm-hmm. You leave the BS aside, so to speak, and it's just constantly trying to move forward. And when you have the right people on board, you have that alignment. So I think team is just so important in anything you do. And obviously we're seeing it with this project. So it's great, man.
Absolutely. So I know I kind of skipped over, but I want the audience to know a little bit about you. And then I got a little bit of an icebreaker. So just tell us, as far as like where you grew up, career-wise, where you went to school, and then kind of how you came to build the suit.
Yeah, so I grew up in Mount Vernon, so about 30 minutes north of Iowa City, and went to the University of Iowa where I studied economics. When I was in school, I wanted to get into banking, and so I worked in banking for about 6.5 years, and I had a client who approached me about coming over to run their multifamily department for affordable housing. So I did a lot of affordable housing for 3 years, learned a lot about tax credits, working with municipalities, working with, state funds, federal funds, all those types of things. And COVID hit. Yeah. And with affordable housing, unfortunately, COVID really rocked that industry and it was really hard. And so I'm just somebody who always wants to keep doing more and more. And so sitting there twiddling your thumbs was just hard for me. I wanted to do more. I want to do more in communities. And so I got out of affordable housing and kind of got into the whole business development, real estate development with a construction company, knowing that, hey, I have the finance background, the banking background, getting into the real estate, needing that construction team to help support me. So when we talk about the team again, that was important to me. I need to collaborate. I love to collaborate. So working with Build to Suit and, being with them for about 1.5 years now, being back in Coralville because I was in the Quad Cities when my wife and I met. And so we moved back here and we've loved the change, man. I love what I do, what our team does, the projects we get involved in, the people I get to meet and form relationships with. It's the best part about my job. Yeah,
well, that's awesome. But one thing about you, we have got to know each other really well. And you are, I guess I could say avid Minnesota Timberwolves fan.
Huge. Wolves in 5.
So I want to ask, so how did you become a Minnesota Timberwolves fan?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Man, growing up as a kid, dreams of playing in the NBA. No, basketball was a big part of my upbringing, which is why this project is so fun for me. 7 of my best friends were guys I grew up with, right? So we've known each other since we were 8 years old. We're best friends to this day. We all played travel ball together. We traveled across the state just playing in tournaments. I think all of our parents just wanted to have fun wherever we were going. But, basketball is a big part for us. And, when you're in Iowa, you don't have a professional team, and so I was already, fans of the Vikings and the Twins. And so, obviously the Timberwolves made sense. And we had Kevin Garnett. Yeah. And so I love Kevin Garnett. I love his mentality, the way that he played, with how hard he played and kind of the mentality that he played with. And so it was obviously really bittersweet when he, went to the Celtics. And so, now it's fun, obviously, with Anthony Edwards and, it's close. Yeah. So when it comes to wanting to go out for a game and, being downtown and, having the ability to go to Twins games too, I love it, man. Yeah, it hasn't been fun for a long time, but it's pretty fun right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned Anthony Edwards. Yeah. And I was going to say, so as a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, what's been one of the, how fit this way, have you had any crazy purchases that are directly related to you being an avid Timberwolves fan?
Are you referring maybe to some shoes I recently got?
No, I'm just asking because,
I have some things. Yeah. I have a couple Anthony Edwards shoes. One I'm keeping as a collector item and the other one are just the recent Easter edition ones. Yeah. I have some jerseys. When we went up for the Wolves Pistons game, I bought Ant's high school jersey. That's kind of a rare thing that only one store in the Mall of America had. Oh, wow. So I thought that was really unique. Having a high school jersey, I have one from his rookie year where he had a different number and now the new one, and have a lot of other ones. I might have some other collector stuff, some bobbleheads, some other things. But, for me, it's all part of being a fan, man. Yeah. I love that stuff, supporting the team. You hear from players in all realms, whether it's college or pros, they vibe off fans, So I kind of feel like it's important to voice my support, whether it's just having conversation. That's fun. We go back and forth and, I love watching your boys, especially at Iowa, being an Iowa guy. And, that's just part of it. Yeah. So I love it.
For sure. All right. So I think I know the answer to this one. Most memorable Timberwolves moment for you?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one to answer. This year, going to the Wolves Pistons game where the brawl happened right in front of us.
Yeah.
So we were up there about a month ago and sitting fourth row, right under the seat.
Yeah.
Right under the bucket, and the brawl happened literally right in front of us.
Yeah.
So we got to be all over social media. Phone was blowing up. People were like,
That's so
"Oh man,
funny.
you're there," and I'm like, "I wasn't any part of it. I promise." You know, but it was good.
Yeah, and you actually showed us a picture you have from that because you're with Ryan Wade and that kind of thing. And obviously Ryan's a big part of this project as the landowner. You know, he's a big part of it. So that was awesome that you guys got to do that. But you know, getting back to the facility, you know, you've worked on a lot. I mean, you helped build TBK down in the Quad Cities. You know, and there's just too many to name. But when it comes to this project, and you hear me, I talk about it, it's going to be the only facility like it in Eastern Iowa. I don't know, maybe the entire state. But when it came to this project, like what makes it different and what makes you excited about not only the project, but where it's going and what we know that it will do for the community in the future?
I think where it's different, and I guess I should start with a lot of communities in Iowa are putting in sports complexes, right? It's kind of the hot trend right now. Where this is different are the partners that you have involved in it, right? When you think about the fitness component, the physical therapy component. And it's not just to have those businesses there for additional income, right? That's not what this is for.
Right.
This is to create that one-stop shop, holistic approach to help these kids, to help the families, to help the community.
Yep.
And so that's been different in a lot of good ways, right? You know, these projects are different. They're not the norm. You know, when you put them together with the numbers, like we sat down and we went back and forth for a good month, just structuring the deal, putting it together, you know, in a pro forma. It's been different having to incorporate that into things. But I think, you know, when we went down to DME in Florida in December, that really helped understand your vision, what you were thinking about, because it's talking about all the aspects that will go into these Corridor Sports Performance Center, right? You know, it's not the norm. It is different. It's going to benefit communities, not just here in Johnson County or Eastern Iowa, but it's going to benefit people all across the state.
Absolutely.
You know, it'll be fun to see it get to that point. But, you know, we've been involved in the TBK Sports Complex. We did the Iron T Golf facility right by it. Fun City in Burlington. We just did another 113,000 square foot sports facility in Bettendorf by TBK just because the demand is there. So it's something that our team, you know, has a lot of experience in. This is just a unique one. And so for me, it's been a lot of fun getting involved on the front end, you know, creating the relationship that we have, working through it, and then obviously tracking the progress. That's the most fun, man. Like where we're at, where we were, the modifications we've had to make. You know, it's been a lot of good conversation, and it's because we have the right people involved, and that goes a long way.
Yep, absolutely. You know, I'm excited. I think the one thing that's really important too, just last night we had a middle school practice, and being able to talk to the parents about it, because the parents, you know, they see their kids in uniforms and practicing and going to tournaments, and so that's where their mind is, right? Hey, we're going to have this new facility. It's going to be home. But when I started talking to them about the actual holistic vision that we have, when you can wrap these kids, you know, we'll have a leadership and mentor program. I think that's going to be huge, not only for the kids in our program, but our coaches as well. And that's one of the things we want people to understand. Like, this is just not for the kids' development. This is for the coaches in our program to help them continue to get better. Because the one thing that we're seeing is with so many more travel teams, not only in the state of Iowa, just across the country, the coaching gets watered down. And sometimes you just have somebody on the bench because you need a body. And that's not what we want to do. We want to create an environment where our coaches get better as well as our kids. And that will come as well. And I think having parents and other people outside of it understand, like, the basketball is like the smallest part, or the volleyball is the smallest part. When you talk about these student athletes, it's about everything else. And that's where we're going to make a difference, is how we can not only affect the student athlete, but we can affect their family when it comes to the benefits of all these resources moving forward. And so, yeah, so I'm excited to see, you know, how it all comes together, but I know it will because we have good people there.
Well, it's just, you think about all the people that you haven't talked to too, the people that will impact, right? The people that, you know, maybe you're playing in facilities that probably shouldn't be utilized, you know, and I don't want to call anything out specifically, but it's like, you know, my little from Big Brothers Big Sisters, shout out Cutler, you know, he's involved in youth sports. You know, it matters to him a lot. It mattered to me a lot. So like, that's one thing that we connect over quite a bit. And, you know, he plays a lot through the Davenport Y, right? So they do a lot of stuff at, you know, beyond the baseline. They've done stuff at the field house in Iowa City. This is another option, you know, and it's great to be able to think about, hey, you know, the connections that I have being involved in this, right? Like that's fun, man. That's what makes this great is you get it done, but being able to say, hey, you know, when you go to this, I was involved in this. Yeah. Like that's, you know, you talk about generational influence. I think a lot about generational legacy. Like what kind of legacy am I leaving behind for, you know, my daughter, my wife, my friends, my family, but people I'm connected with too. Yeah. You know, you don't want to go around and showboat everything you're doing, but when people go in like, oh, it's, you know, this is fantastic. This is amazing. You were part of this. Yeah. It feels good, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know you said you want your family to be proud of the projects that you work on.
That's everything. You know, like we get involved in a lot of projects. Every project is meaningful for us because it's meaningful for our client. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that some projects didn't mean a little more, right? You have a personal connection to certain projects. This one definitely has a personal connection to me because as I said before, you know, growing up, travel ball was a big part of my life. You know, it's something I loved. My friends were doing it. You know, we had a lot of fun. It was great to be able to travel, go all over the place, you know, going to camps at the University of Iowa, right, for a couple years, at the field house. You know, you just think about all the memories that you have. Yeah. We're going to create that here. Yep. And that's fun to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break so you can learn a little bit more about this project. In 2011, my twin sons were in the 4th grade, and I started a team called Legacy Basketball. We were just a group of kids, parents, and coaches who believed in doing things the right way. Through discipline, character, and community, that small team has grown into Murray Elite, and now we finally have a home. The Corridor Sports Performance Center will be where our kids train, compete, and grow, not just in the game, but in life. It started with Legacy, it continues with Murray Elite, and it's only the beginning. Come see what we've built and be a part of it. Visit themurrayfoundation.org. Welcome back. Well, we want to give you a little peek into what the facility is going to look like. And so we're going to talk through a little bit of the design things that it's been from day one of design to like where we are now. It's amazing, but I think that's where the excitement comes. You and I talked about it, like when people can start seeing it come to life through, you know, our work with the architect and those kind of things. That's when people get excited. So, what do you think? I mean, obviously the layout is a little bit different, but as we talk about, you know, the different spaces, you know, ability, physical therapy will be in one space, elite fitness will be in another space, and then you kind of work your way into the facility. As far as the layout and everything goes, like what are your thoughts on it?
Man, I really like where we're at. And what's funny is, you know, you sat there and you described it and you're using your hands to, you know, put where everybody's at. Yeah. But that kind of vision's been there from the get-go, which is kind of my favorite part in this, right? Like one thing I've talked about before with you is the vision from day one is the same as it is now. You know, and when I say that, I mean, the things that you want to incorporate in this project has never steered away from that. You know, so when you think about the holistic approach of offering up the physical therapy, the fitness component, you know, walking in and having a huge donor wall that's right there to showcase everybody that's contributed to the project. And then getting in, you know, obviously having your concession space, right, for when we're having tournaments and camps and stuff. But, you know, going back and forth thinking about, okay, are we doing 3 courts? Are we doing 4 courts? Are we doing volleyball? Are we doing pickleball? You know, we went back and forth on that a lot and talked to a lot of people, and having connections is obviously a big part of that because that helps get you through that process. And, you know, I certainly struggle with overanalyzing things and wanted to make sure it's the right decision because it's so hard to go back, right? So it's crucial to, you know, make sure you're having conversations with people that you trust. And, you know, where we're at now, I love how it's laid out. I really like the spectator part. You know, that kind of sits back. That's going to be cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But I do like the mez space that's up above the elite fitness, which mirrors, you know, DME, which, but that's probably one of my favorite parts, knowing that DME is so important in your life, your kid's life, how it shaped everything, and kind of where we are today is because of it.
Yeah.
So I think offering that up and knowing what it's being used for is going to be probably the best part of this project.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that mezzanine space is going to be great. But one of the things is when people start thinking about this is like, because we said if we do this, then we might have to add an elevator. And so you kind of figure out like, how can you do that, still have a high quality project but, limit some of the costs that are associated with it. So as it lays out, what'll be great, that the office area, it'll be on the second level. We'll have our executive director or our executive office space. We'll have our building manager space. And then we kind of went back and forth, like having coaches' offices and that kind of thing. But what we're going to do is actually create one big room that we can section off, and that'll be kind of our wellness space, but it'll be laid out in a way that we can do podcasts there. We can do media training for any of our athletes that are there. My wife, who is a big holistic and wellness person, she wants it to be a room that would be big enough that we can do, like, I think she called it like Wellness Wednesdays, but the space will be able to accommodate those kind of things. And then we have our conference room space too as well. But going back to the layout, on the first level, we'll have another classroom space that we can use for different things, whether it's team meetings or whatever. And that will probably be a space that we dedicate to some of our educational partners, like Junior Achievement and some of their career readiness programs. So I think the layout and everything is great. And there's going to be one part of it that's super special to me that we're going to wait till we get some renditions of how it looks in there. But, just understand that the state of Iowa and the people in it are the reason why I'm here. They've given me everything. So yeah, I'm excited about the layout and when it all comes together.
I like the first floor conference room.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I like that so much is, having that finance background, so to speak, and being involved in financial literacy before, being involved in home buyer education. In a previous life, I had to become a HUD certified housing counselor and help people understand, management of finances.
Yeah.
We don't we as a society don't realize how many people struggle with that. And so your partnership with Junior Achievement and other financial institutions, bringing them in to host seminars or courses to help give people the guidance or the knowledge of how to, better operate those types of things. It's awesome, man. I love that. And so you've had that as part of your vision from the get-go. And that's one of my favorite parts of the project. It's just different. Yeah. It may not be used a whole hell of a lot, and that's okay. Yeah. But it's something that's different that's being offered, and that's a whole part of the holistic approach too.
Yeah. That's all great. The layout's great, but I just, one of the things that I'm really, really excited about is the opportunity to partner with Brightn, which is a mental wellness app. And it was developed by a good friend of mine, Jeff Johnston. Yeah, his father, actually, Dave Johnston, was our team doctor when I was playing at Iowa. So we've known each other for a long time, but Jeff is one that's faced a lot of tragedy. He lost his oldest son to fentanyl poisoning. He subsequently lost his wife to alcoholism. And Brightn actually came from the fact that the granddaughter that he didn't know he had and found out after his son passed, her name's Brightn. And so,
cool.
So he named the app after her. And I think it's going to do wonders. It was designed to really help the Gen Zers. But what we're seeing is that the applications that are within the app are actually being used by probably more people our age than it is for the kids. But I'm just really excited about it because I think they're going to really, really change the way that we view mental wellness. As far as if you don't have the ability to get to a counselor, this app is not there to replace them, but it's there to give them tools to be able to work through different things. And it's connected with AI, which is fantastic because AI can be good and bad. And we're actually teaching AI empathy when it comes to the app. So it's really cool. And so for somebody outside looking in, when you talk about mental wellness and those kind of things, how do you see our affiliation with Brightn being a benefit to the families that come into our building?
Well, you hit on it a little bit. This is obviously going to impact Gen Zers the most, right? Because it's kind of talked about amongst their generation, but the stubborn older generation is putting their guard down, so to speak. And I think having it be an app is a nice way for people to ease into it.
Yeah.
Everybody's had mental, health issues, whether it's severe or slight. It's a part of everybody's life, and it's just something that you can have access to.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's just quick access to it. You get a benefit how you use it. So I like that part of it too.
Yeah.
Just knowing like, hey, you're going to get the most out of it if you're putting the most into it.
Yeah.
But if it's not a huge part of what you want, it's still there.
Yeah.
So you can use it however you need it.
Absolutely.
And so I think it'll be big for these kids because there's so much pressure on them. Right. And the families sometimes put a lot of pressure on them. And so I think it's a nice private way of them being able to track their progress and hopefully improving that mental health.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up tracking, because one of the things that we see this as a benefit too is being able to take the raw data.
Yeah.
And go down and look at it and understand, maybe what the kids are feeling pre-tournament versus post-tournament, or the week leading up to it. And that raw data, we'll be able to look at it and really go to our coaches and say, hey, based on the data that we're seeing, within whatever age groups it is, these are the things that, they are stressing about. And that way we're able to equip the coaches with the knowledge of, okay, this is how my team is feeling. How can I better help them? How can I deliver this message differently? Maybe it's even something that they change in practice and what they, and so obviously it won't be associated with anyone's name, but we can look at the demos and we can look at trends and those kind of things to really help our coaches help the kids. And I think because of that, we'll also be able to take that data to the parents and say, hey, this is what this age group is thinking, based on whether their kids in it or not. But it's like, this is the things that we're working on to help your kids.
100%.
And I think that's a game changer in it as well when you talk about developing, this well-rounded student athlete.
I mean, do I like data, Kenny?
Yeah, you are a data person.
It helps, man. I think having something to track, especially when it's for your kids' mental health, obviously you've got to kind of skew out the whole outliers when it comes to winning a game, losing a game, scoring a light 30, or not scoring well at all.
Right.
So taking those out of it, it's a nice way to be able to track these kids that are for the main reasons, right? And so it's whether it's practice stuff or school stuff, family life stuff, it's help.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
Quick access and it's help.
Yeah.
And that's what it'll be a fun part of the project for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're excited. Like I said, we've cleared a few hurdles, but we still have a long way to go. And we're hoping, obviously things working well. We've kind of adjusted some of our fundraising strategy based on grants and things like that are out there. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to be able to help support this project, whether it's through sponsorships, nonprofit donations, or maybe even just as a volunteer. Like there's just going to be a number of different ways that the community can help out. But before I let you go, I'd like to do kind of a rapid fire.
Let's do it.
Ask questions.
Let's do it.
I don't know. You can go off the rails real easy here, but
no, man, I'll be good.
All right. No, first one, really easy. Okay. I know you have a young daughter, but I want you to think bucket list vacation with just you and your wife. Where is it?
Man, I think we did it for our honeymoon.
Really?
So we went down the Dominican, and that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. So it was 2017, and believe it or not, but I fully unplugged for the full 5 days. We both put our phones in the safe in the hotel.
Yeah.
And we just enjoyed the honeymoon together.
Yeah.
So no phone, nothing, no emails, no work, nothing. Yeah. So I love that. And I don't know where I would really go.
Yeah.
I am a huge sports guy.
Yeah.
So if it were to go somewhere, the Masters would be great. Ryder Cups would be great.
Yeah.
My wife is not as much of a golf fan as I am, but I think I like going for more about an experience, than just going for a relaxing vacation, a day, and I'm getting jittery as you can probably imagine. But, I think just going to places for experiences, and I do like doing vacations with friends too, because, growing up with, like I said, my guys that, we've known each other for so long, you move away, you don't see each other. Obviously we text, we call, we FaceTime, all the stuff all the time. But you move away and you don't see each other as often. So whenever we can come together with our significant others is great too. So I think we kind of did it with a honeymoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Cookie, pie, or cake, and what flavor?
Cookie, Monster.
You
don't like pie.
You don't need that much sugar.
No, I know. That's why it's just a cake. That's just why it's a cookie, not the cake, okay. Right? If I had the cake, it'd be even worse, man. This would be 10 times worse. Yeah. We'd be in big trouble.
Awesome. All right. Okay. Last question. If you could have dinner with any 3 people that are living today, who would it be?
Anthony Edwards.
Given.
Anthony Edwards would be one. I like to laugh a lot, so Anthony Edwards was on there. Shane Gillis would be pretty fun. Oh, yeah. Shane Gillis is pretty good.
I kind of started seeing this stuff. I think the Saturday Night Live thing kind of brought it out to me, so I've been checking out his stuff.
You know that, and then you think of like influential people, whether it be, Mayor Pete. You could think about, Warren Buffett would be pretty cool, man. As somebody who likes the economics and the finance stuff, that'd be pretty cool. So somebody who's kind of more of the power position, kind of that third one, right? To even out the comedy that's there.
And the antics of Anthony Edwards.
And the antics of Ant. So, I'm somebody who just loves to learn things, pick up on stuff, analyze the way things are going on. And so learning that from those successful people would be, a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it, bro.
I know it was kind of last minute, but I knew, having you, it wouldn't be a bad podcast to have because we talk all the time. We have a lot of things going on. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time out today and sharing your thoughts on the project. We're super excited about it. And like I said, if you guys want any more information on the project, you can go to www.themurrayfoundation.org. And until next time, let's keep connecting.